Okay, shall we go ahead and get started?
Yes.
7:05. Okay. I'm Steph Mendel. I really am. But
Okay.
then the link I sent out to most people was apparently the link that Zoom sent to me. And so everybody who's coming in using that link is coming in as Steph Mendel. If you want to remain as Steph Mendel, that's your choice. But if you want to change your name to your true name, you can find yourself and click on the three little dots up in the corner and scroll down to where it says rename and type in your real name. So apologies for that. We haven't done one of these in a while, and I was thought I was being helpful. Anyway, on behalf of the Livable Raleigh Advisory Committee, I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's program. It is being recorded, and the recording, slides, and Q&A will be posted on our website in the next few days at livableraleigh.com. Tonight, you will hear from Livable Raleigh Advisory Board members Tim Niles and Bob Geary. Tim will be speaking about changes in Raleigh's election process, and Bob will be sharing the results of our professionally conducted poll on Raleigh issues. Next slide, please. Livable Raleigh was started shortly after the 2019 municipal elections when it became clear that the city of Raleigh was not doing a good job of communicating to Raleigh residents about local issues. We saw a void growing and no indication that would change. We stepped in to fill that void and to help Raleigh residents become better informed and motivated to get involved in our community. We maintain a website, a strong social media presence, and we deliver a weekly email to over 19,000 Raleigh residents. Tonight's program is our 15th event of this kind. If you're interested in getting more involved with our activities, please email livableraleigh@gmail.com. I'd like first of all to recognize any elected officials and candidates who have joined us tonight. From the registration list and from who I've seen come in, Ashley Heath Armstrong, Josh Bradley, Corey Branch, Jane Harrison, Whitney Hill, Jared Ollison, Tululepe Omakaye, Sana Siddiqui, Clark Reinhardt, and Javon Smith. We also have a member of the General Assembly with us tonight, Cynthia Ball. Thank you all for joining us. I'd also like to give a special welcome to our guest, Jerry Cohen, who has had a long and distinguished career in public service and who currently is a member of the Wake County Board of Elections. When it comes time for the Q&A, please use the raise hands feature at the bottom of the Zoom screen if you wish to ask a question, or you can type your question into chat. You should all be on mute, and we ask that you remain that way throughout the presentation unless we call on you to ask a question. Now I'd like to turn things over to Tim Niles.
Steph, one moment. Just check to see if anybody was missed, okay?
Okay, did I miss any candidates or elected officials?
I thought I saw Jane Harrison, but she's not there anymore.
Oh, I did say her name, so because
Oh, okay.
I saw her come in too. Yeah.
Also, can we post in the chat that some people don't understand how to raise their hand? It's under reactions, and if you go to that, that's where the raise your hand feature is.
Okay, yeah, I'll put that in the chat.
Next slide. Thanks to all of you for being here. I'm Tim Niles. I'll be providing a short explanation of the changes that have been made to Raleigh's City Council elections, followed by a Q&A with elections expert Jerry Cohen. We'll then move on to reveal the results of our polling, showing the issues Raleigh voters care about. At the end of that reveal, we'll open up the program again for more questions and answers about the poll results and about the issues that you care about. Next slide, please. The next Raleigh election for City Council and Mayor will be held November of 2026. But there's a nonpartisan primary election on March 3rd, with early voting starting February 12th and ending on February 28th. What do these changes mean? Raleigh moved to even year elections in 2022. What this means is City Council candidates are now competing for the attention of voters, campaign volunteers, and the media against both state and national office elections. When Raleigh held elections in odd number years, the focus was solely on Raleigh issues. We may have more voters coming out in even years, but are they focused on Raleigh city issues? I have personally worked the polls at these even year elections, and I can tell you from my experience, most voters have no idea Raleigh is even holding an election, no idea who is running, no idea who the mayor is, or what city council district they even live in. At least when city elections were held in odd numbered years, voters knew why they were there and what they were voting for. Council elections have always been nonpartisan. Nonpartisan means there are no party affiliations disclosed. All candidates will run in the same primary. Any race that has more than 2 candidates running will have a primary to bring that number down to 2. The number is 4 for at-large races, since the candidates are running for 2 available at-large seats. The top 2 candidates advance to the general election in November, the top 4 for the at-large candidates. In both the primary and the general election, voters may vote for 2 at-large candidates to fill the 2 at-large seats. These primaries will ensure those elected will receive a majority of the vote, opposed to past elections with multiple candidates where only a plurality was required to win. Oftentimes, the winning candidate got far less than 50% of the votes. Next slide, please. Raleigh is moving to 4-year terms. When fully implemented, half of the city council will be elected every 2 years. This will allow every citizen to vote for at least 1 member of council every 2 years. How will we get there? In Raleigh, every voter is directly represented by 4 members of the 8-member city council: the mayor, both at-large councilors, and 1 district councilor. This year, the mayor, 1 at-large councilor, and the councilors for District A and B will be elected to 4-year terms. They will not stand for re-election again until 2030. For the at-large seat, the candidate receiving the most votes will be elected to the 4-year term. The second place at-large councilor and districts C, D, and E will be elected for 2-year terms and then stand for re-election again in 2028 for a 4-year term. At that point, all terms will be 4 years, with half of the council being elected every 2 years, or what is referred to as 4-year staggered terms. And at this point, Raleigh will end the practice of electing both at-large councilors in the same election, requiring voters to vote for 2 candidates. Going forward, the at-large candidates will be running in different election cycles and also be required to win with over 50% of the vote. If you were planning to run for city council and you haven't already filed to run, it's too late. The period to file to run closed on December 19th. Next slide. Since candidate filing ended in December, we already know who is running for mayor in each council seat. We also know that there will only be 2 primary races in March. Only the at-large and District C races have enough candidates running to require a primary. There are 6 candidates running at large for 2 available seats and 4 running for the District C seat. The primary will bring the numbers down to 4 for the at-large race and 2 for the District C race. If you are surprised at the small number of candidates running for office, so am I. All I can guess is that the general public was unaware of the changes that we are talking about tonight, and potential candidates didn't fully understand they had to make a decision to run last month. Livable Raleigh first published the data that I'm sharing here tonight in April, and we have republished it several times throughout the year. If you weren't aware of these changes, either because the city or the local media haven't kept you informed, Livable Raleigh is a great source for keeping up with what's going on in Raleigh. Next slide, please. Now I want to open it up for any questions you may have about the new election format, and Jerry Cohen will join me to answer you. So I've got someone here is looking for raised hands or questions in the chat. I think that's Mike Lindsay who's doing that, right?
Yeah, Steph has a question. Stephanie G.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. And thank you, everybody who's participating. While Livable Raleigh has been wonderful about letting everybody know who the candidates were, that all of this new changes, is it possible for Livable Raleigh or any of us to kind of reach out to the media to have them be more active about explaining it to their viewerships and stuff? I mean, I haven't even heard one thing about any of this on public radio, which is shocking to me. And I'm very concerned because, you know, clearly you're doing this tonight, which I appreciate greatly but the people who are on this platform tonight, I think most of us already knew that there are changes. How do we reach the people who don't know that there are changes?
Well,
Can I just
I
in
may
on
I may
that?
get I
Um,
may get myself in trouble for answering this question, but the city has a community engagement department. They're going to start informing the public about these changes next week.
and
Filing was last month.
And just to note, we do have a list on our website of media contacts, and we did alert them to this meeting. And we apparently have a reporter from the Triangle Tribune in the meeting. And I did meet with the News and Observer a couple of years ago to talk about better coverage for local elections and local issues. And they basically said, we used to have 250 reporters in the newsroom and we're down to about 50. And that was a couple of years ago. So it's probably lower than that now.
Yep. William, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, and I thank you all for this meeting. So I just have a question that just to help contextualize this issue. Um, do we know what problem was initially attempting to be solved by these changes? And is there any understanding on who benefits and why? And that, for me, I would think would be like a part of the conversation or a part of what we might want to explain to folks about why this issue should matter to them.
When the change first was suggested to move to 4-year terms, the suggestion was that if counselors had a longer term, they would have more time to work on complicated, difficult issues without having to worry about running for reelection so quickly. They also, at the same time, said if we do move to 4-year terms, we will also institute a primary to make sure that the people who are elected for 4-year terms get over 50% of the vote.
But in addition to that, the idea of moving to even years was always explained to me as wanting to get more people voting in the council elections. And of course, but the trade-off, as we mentioned, as Tim mentioned before, is there may be more people voting, but they're going to be thinking about a lot more issues than the city council issues. But that was how it was explained to me at the time, was we've got low turnout and we needed to improve turnout. And so even years is one way to do that.
Russ?
Yeah, so there's 3 different things going on. There was a move to even years, which was to get more turnout. And as I said, we do get more turnout. They're just not necessarily informed voters. The move to 4-year terms was to give counselors more time to do work than to just always be running for reelection. And the move to primaries was to make sure that the people who do get elected to 4-year terms get at least over 50% of the vote.
Russ, in the chat, Linda is asking if you could show the slide of candidates again and then go back to this slide. And then Joshua has his hand up.
See if I can get back to that. Yeah.
Right there.
There it is.
There you go.
And the slides will all be on our website in the next few days.
And what
Joshua,
you can,
you're up.
Okay, can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, do we think that there's going to be higher turnout in the primary than there was in municipal elections? Uh, I ask this because the one of the party that I'm a member of that will not be having that has ballot access will not be having primaries because they're going to be doing it at the convention due to campaign law. Um, which definitely is a hindrance to me, my campaign. And I'm not sure how many Democrats and Republicans are going to have contested primaries. Um, so I'm just wondering if the thought is that there'll still be more turnout for this primary than they were in the old municipal elections, because it seems to me that rather than moving it, unlike we're like two or three municipalities in the entire state moved to even years. Everybody else is still doing it the old way. If we had just advertised as a city municipal elections better, then we would have avoided this problem. uh, but does anybody have a feel for whether or not the turnout at the primary is going to be considerably higher than what it was back in the old municipal election days before the
this
Well,
is
court
this
change?
is an excellent question for Jerry Cohen.
Thanks very much, Josh. Um, well, in an off-year primary like now, based on past experience, we might expect a turnout of 25 to 30% citywide. In the presidential primary, which will be in the primary 2 years from now, might be 45. General elections, it's 70 and 90. The municipal, when it was municipals, then the turnout varied most elections between like 17 and 19% in Raleigh. So, yes, it will be a higher increase. Now, as Josh mentioned, Green Party, I could discuss ballot issues because there's going to be a bunch of different ballots depending on what party the voter is. So we've gamed that all out. There are now actually 10 years ago, there were just three municipalities with even year elections. This year it's 71. So it's actually a trend, but there's only nonpartisan primaries in Asheville, Mount Airy, and Raleigh. So those are the three that have chosen that even year nonpartisan primary. Now, Raleigh had nonpartisan primaries from 1933 to 19 through 1977, but I don't expect anyone to remember that.
Okay.
I would jump in to say that people in Raleigh are not going to know an election is going on because, for example, for mayor, Ashley and Janet Cowell will advance to the November election without campaigning. But one opportunity to get the public's attention is that at-large race. Everyone in Raleigh will have two votes in the at-large campaign, and there are 6 candidates running. And I suggest that it's on them to go out and shake the trees and tell people there is a citywide election. It is important. I'm running as a candidate, not me. Candidates are running. Josh Bradley is running. Others are running. And if you don't get the public's attention, then I'm afraid most of Raleigh will again be surprised when they arrive at the polling place in November. I did the polls a couple of years ago, as Tim did, and people had no idea that Raleigh was electing a council, nor any idea who was running. So it was kind of sad, but that's the reality.
So since we have another at-large candidate here, Clark Reinhardt, I was wondering, Clark, can you just give your own perspective being a candidate in that at-large race?
Yeah, I think Sauna's here as well. I
Oh,
think
she
she's
is?
just off
Okay.
camera, to the best of my
Okay, let's
knowledge.
see here.
But I think it's a good word. It's on us to ensure folks know there are changes, and in particular, that our race is competitive. We have good candidates running that have integrity. Like I mentioned, I didn't mean that's a knock on the comment about the overlay of folks, but I do think we have, good friends and colleagues who are running across the board here, even though it is maybe a smaller list than some have expected. But yeah, I would echo that it's on us to make sure folks know, to get folks out. I think all of the campaigns I've talked to, I would say generally speaking, you know, that's a major goal for us and the folks I've talked to at large, to create awareness and make sure folks know that things have changed and we want to see them at the polls.
Okay.
I didn't want to say too much or too little, so hopefully that was enough. Yeah.
That was great. Thank you for chiming in there. I was wondering, for some reason, I don't see Sana, but you say she's here, so I'm curious.
I
did
saw
earlier.
her.
Sorry,
Okay.
I saw earlier, but I
Okay.
could be mistaken. I have y'all like this big on my screen. Sorry about that.
Right.
She is on the list of participants.
Okay.
She could be
Joshua-
one of the Steph Mendel's.
No, she's
Yeah.
on there with her name.
Yeah. Hey, Joshua, you got your hand up again?
Yeah, just real quick, but doesn't it seem like this arrangement is going to be a serious advantage to people that are in tight with the developers that can raise a whole lot of money
Well,
early in the year, as opposed to everybody else? Because like in a normal election, we would be out during the summer and we would have events that we could go to and be out and do that. But having it so early and to file so early, doesn't that advantage people that are taking lots of developer money, because they're going to be able to raise funds quicker, especially during this time of the year, which after the holidays, people don't have as much money as they did right before the holidays usually. I'm just wondering if that was intentional or if it's just the way it went over.
Well, the Supreme Court has said that money is protected speech, so it'll always be an issue, but it's one that the courts have said, that's a protected right to donate as you feel. So.
Well,
I hope it's
I-
not, Joshua, but I hear
Yeah,
that
go ahead,
critique.
Clark.
Yeah, I hope it's not, but I mean, I think that's a fair critique. As a first-time candidate, I feel like all of this is new for all of us. It's also new for me. I know you've run before, so I don't feel like I have a really strong comment on the flow just as a first-timer raising my hand.
I think actually money always gives a candidate a big advantage against other candidates, but the other candidates can have a countervailing advantage if they raise issues. And given what Jerry said about turnout, you have a chance to make a mark in the primary and advance to the general with a relatively small number of votes. It will not take a fortune to finish in the top 4 in that at-large race, or in the top 2 in the District C race. And I would suggest, I'm going to talk about issues in our poll in a few minutes, but I would encourage y'all candidates who are here to raise issues, run on the issues. And you're a good-looking guy, Josh, but I'm not going to base it. I don't know Clark. He's a good-looking guy too. So now you're tied. But what would you do when you're on council? What would change if you were elected? That's what I want to hear, and I think that would get people's attention if candidates ran in that fashion.
Is there going to be early voting?
Yes, the early voting starts February 12th and ends
Wow.
February 28th.
Okay.
And the last, I guess, we're about ready to switch over to the next part of the program. I think we've had all
Hold
the
on.
questions.
We've got another question from Bruce.
Okay, we're going to have
Or a
one.
comment.
This is the last question, and then we're going to move on.
Unmute.
Bruce, unmute.
Bruce, are you there?
He's got to unmute.
When Bruce is finished, I have one thing to add.
There we
Follow
go.
up with Josh.
Okay.
Josh.
So for the people that are running for office, there are several questions. One, do you know what turf you're running in? Do you know what your precincts are? Have you sat down and crunched the numbers on who voted in the last 2 or 3 elections? All of this is available on the Board of Elections website. The next thing is, yeah, you need some dough. So you can run it one of two ways. You can go knock on every door, which is going to use a lot of shoe leather, but you meet your constituents, you talk to them face to face. You're going to need some money. You don't need a lot of money, but you do need to have some sort of mailer so that you can, as Bob said, run on the issues. What do people care about? Whether it's transportation, affordable housing, et cetera, et cetera. The larger question is, this business of voter turnout. I can give you one. I'll give you one example. When Obama ran, and this was on an even numbered year, when everybody and their brother was running. When we looked at the election results in the precincts for District D, we were stunned because we had triple voter turnout in precincts. Some precincts had 300 votes typically. I mean, we monitored all this very closely, and we were seeing, 900 votes in a precinct. That's kind of a holy grail type of a thing. When you have people that are only in office for a couple of years, it typically takes them a year or so just to get up to speed because of the amount of homework they have to do. The comment that developer money matters, yeah, these days look at the war chests that people are building up. So that brings up the other question of how are you going to communicate with the people? And I can tell you that having campaigned in the recent presidential election, and I'm not sure that certain parties have this figured out yet, but one party does. If you have an app where you can push the button and communicate with thousands of people at once, you don't need to go talk on doors, but you have to build that network. And I'm not sure that there are people that have the capacity or the wherewithal to do that. So I'll just shut up there and good luck.
Okay, now that was the last question, and Jerry has something he wants to end this section on. Unmute yourself, Jerry.
There we go. Yes, I was just going to say, Steph had asked in the chat, how do you find your council district? And if you go to State Board of Elections website, ncsbe.gov, click on voter search, look yourself up. You can find all your districts and your sample ballots for the primary. Wake County posted all the sample ballots yesterday, linked them to the voter records. And I'm not sure if that's going to be shown on the screen or not, but there's basically 6 different municipal ballots. One for if you're just in the at-large race, and the other at-large in District C.
Yeah, next, go 2 slides ahead.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, when you said next.
No, you're fine, Jerry. I'm asking Russ to go 2 slides
Yes,
ahead.
thank you.
So this shows us there are Jerry provided us sample ballots from the county. This page shows you the sample ballot for if you live in District C, because it has the at-large race and the District C race. The one on the left is the Democratic ballot. The one in the middle is the unaffiliated or nonpartisan ballot. And the one on the right is the Republican ballot. So if you live in District C, that is what you're going to see. And we will have these sample ballots up on our website with all of the slides from today and
Correct.
everything else.
I was going to add to that, if you're a registered Democrat or unaffiliated voter who chooses to Democratic ballot, you'll get the ballot says D on the upper right. If you're a registered Republican or an unaffiliated voter who wants to go in the Republican primary, you'll get that. The nonpartisan race is the end. And if you were a Libertarian voter or a Green Party voter or an unaffiliated voter who does not want to choose a party ballot, you'll get the one in the center that just has the city of Raleigh on it. So
And then
that's your ballot choices either at early voting or at your precinct.
and next slide. And it will show you the ballots if you're not in District C. Move ahead once. There you go. So if you're not in District C, all you're going to see is the at-large race for the city. And that these are the same sample ballots for Democrat, unaffiliated, nonpartisan, and Republican here.
And these are relatively short ballots. There aren't a whole lot of races on them. All of them are one side of a page.
Right. Okay, so next slide, please. So we're going to move on now to the next part of our program. We commissioned a poll by Raleigh-based Public Policy Polling a nationally recognized professional polling organization. The poll is statistically significant, you try to say that, and demographically aligned with Raleigh's population. You can see the full results of the poll on our website, download it, and review all the crosstab data. We will put the link in the chat, and we will publish it again when we publish the materials from tonight's forum. And now I'm going to turn it over to Bob Geary, who will discuss the key findings of our poll. Take it away, Bob.
Okay, so we asked, I think, a total of 14 questions in the poll, but I'm going to focus on about 5 of them because the results were clear, and a number of other topics that we asked about had a mixed result. So one of the clearest results in the poll on the issue of affordable housing is Raleigh doing enough to provide affordable housing for residents at every income level or not? And the answer by a margin of, what is that, 4-1, is no, Raleigh is not doing enough. And, you know, the evidence of that is all around us. Everybody is struggling to afford housing. Well, not everybody, the wealthy are not, but low income people are struggling. Lower middle income people are struggling. Middle income people are struggling. The price of housing is high. The supply of housing is inadequate. The supply of affordable housing is completely inadequate. And people see it and people feel it and they want something done about it. So give me the next slide, would you? We also asked this question about affordable housing. Should developers include affordable housing units in their rezoning cases or not? Now, we've been kicking this issue around in Raleigh for a long time, and the answer from the development industry is always no. In fact, their answer is often, not only should we not include affordable housing units in these cases, but you can't make us. And it's illegal if you try to make us. And at the moment, the Raleigh city staff is saying pretty much the same thing. However, this is not really true. It is true that the Raleigh City Council cannot require a developer to include affordable housing units in a rezoning case, but the Raleigh City Council is also not under any obligation to approve a rezoning case. And it can judge a rezoning case based on the public benefit it sees from the case. And when one of the biggest problems in Raleigh is the lack of affordable housing, and a giant tower is proposed to go up somewhere in Raleigh that includes no affordable units, no units in which the rent is limited or tied to income, then that's not a sufficient public benefit. And Livable Raleigh has advocated for some expectation, for a clear expectation by City Council that when they're presented with big rezoning cases, there's one, I think it was yesterday, wasn't it? The old Kmart on Western Boulevard. They applied for a rezoning and it was approved. And they will be entitled to build as many as 3,500 apartment units in that project. And they are not going to build any affordable units. It's all going to be market rate. They're going to make maximum profit on it, and they're not going to share any of it with the city. So what do you do about affordable housing? The city passes bond issues. We passed one in 2020. There's talk of another one in 2026. That means the taxpayers subsidize affordable housing to some degree, and that's appropriate. But it isn't appropriate, in my view, anyway, in our view, to have the taxpayers asked to subsidize affordable housing and developers not asked, not expected to, and they don't build nearly enough affordable housing, and the voters see it. All right, so the next slide. We asked about roads and transit services. We also asked about traffic congestion, and that one, very few people think we don't have a problem with traffic congestion, but they were split pretty evenly between those who think the congestion is a serious problem and those who think it's not a serious problem, not as serious a problem. But in in this vein, do you think that Raleigh's roads and bus transit are adequate to support the growth rate that we have? No. By 5-1, voters think no, we're growing fast. Our roads and bus transit is not keeping up. And in fact, it's getting worse. And so I think an issue for the candidates in this election will be A, how do we supply more affordable housing units? And B, how do we improve our road system? Or C, how do we improve our bus transit system? And D, how do we connect the two? How do we make sure that affordable units are located on bus transit routes and the bus service is good enough for people to ride it and not need a car? We are nowhere near answering that question in Raleigh, although I moved to Raleigh in 1987. We were talking about the problem then. That was what, 38 years ago? We haven't gained on it since then. We have lost ground steadily. We don't have a functioning transit. We have a transit system in Raleigh, but it's not very good. And the voters see that it's not very good. Next slide. So citizen engagement is another issue that we've been hot about since we got started. One of the reasons we did get started was that the city council cut ties with the old citizen advisory councils and cut them loose, and they've struggled ever since. And the question is, has the city replaced the old CAC system with anything that's sufficient to keep residents informed and involved? That's the language that we used in the question. Involved and informed about Raleigh government or not. And again, by 5-1, people say not. They are not well informed. They are not involved. And I personally think the reason one reason we have so few candidates running for office is they don't see avenues into the discussion of city issues. They don't even see what the city issues are. I personally see very little discussion at city council about key issues. I would, well, get off my soapbox. Next slide. So we asked about campaign contributions. That came up a little bit earlier. Are city elections too heavily influenced by large campaign contributions or not? Yes, by 6-1. And the next question we asked about that on the next slide, do you support reducing the donation limit in city elections to $1,000 per candidate or less? Currently, a donor can give $6,800 to a candidate in the primary and then give $6,800 again to a candidate in the general election. So what is that? $13,600 from an individual donor to a candidate. That's a lot. And that will give that donor a big voice in Raleigh government issue decisions. And the rest of us, I don't give that kind of money, so I won't have that kind of voice. People do support that. The voters do support limiting donations to $1,000 or less. Remember when Charles Meeker was running for mayor the first time, he said they should be limited to $100 or less, but that ship never sailed. To get this kind of change, we would have to go to the General Assembly. They would have to allow us to set a lower limit than the statewide limit. But they have allowed some municipalities to set that lower limit. I would suggest that this is another issue that people could raise in this campaign. And if they get on council, can keep raising it and ask the city's lobbyists to go to the General Assembly and seek that kind of authority. Do I have another slide? Is there another one? Okay, no, I don't. So we also asked about two candidates. We asked about Janet Cowell, who'd been in office for a year when we asked this question, how do people feel about Janet? And she had a positive outcome. It was 38 to 19, if I remember. About half the voters had no opinion about her, which is interesting. And then we asked about Stormy Fort because she's been on council for 5 years. She serves at large. She's the only at-large council member who's running for reelection. So we thought people should know something about her, but they don't. And it's indicative of how little people know about the Raleigh City Council and what it does, that 16% had a positive opinion of Stormy, 16% had a negative opinion of Stormy, and the rest, no opinion. The big majority, no opinion about an at-large council member who's been on council for 5 years. I'm not sure what it says about Stormy, but it says a lot about public understanding of what council does. So that's my presentation. I would be interested in the reactions of people who are running. These are not the only issues that could be raised in this campaign. To us, they're the most important. Affordable housing, better transit, better citizen engagement methods, a more active city council that that governs in a way that gets people involved. Those, I think, are the main issues. And then we didn't ask about public safety because to me, it's hard to ask a question of the voters about how you improve public safety, but that is a key for the city of Raleigh and for the country right now. So that's certainly something candidates may choose to bring up as well. So I see a bunch of hands. I'm going to stop talking.
Okay, we have Stephanie G first up, and then Whitney, and then Joshua.
Muted.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm clear. Sometimes it takes a minute for it to unmute. Okay, so I have two questions, and this is really kind of more maybe directed at the candidates and current folks that are in place running than anyone else. One, the affordable housing for the last 10 years, 15 years, when they agree, when a developer agrees to make things affordable, quote unquote, there's nothing defining what affordable really means and who is it affordable to and what is that amount. But it's also it's not a covenant that runs with the land. It lasts. I think their obligation is somewhere around 3 years, and then after that they can go to market value. So we really don't have in place. We keep saying affordable housing is a big issue, but we really don't have anything in place to allow or enforce that to happen. So that's number one. Number two, I was kind of shocked and disappointed to see that in the voter poll questions, there was nothing in here about the coordination or a solution to start addressing the mental illness issues that are in our population and how that is being handled by the police and other. I understand it's an issue that the governor is doing his best to try and address for the state, but it's starting to become a realistic issue here in Raleigh, and I don't see anybody addressing it or talking about it. They're mostly talking about transit and affordable housing, but they're not really talking about the welfare of our population at large. So I don't know.
Well,
Is there a reason that question never came up?
Stephanie, let me take a swing at the first one. Again, state law prohibits the city from requiring a developer to offer anything in their zoning cases, but developers often offer conditions in their cases, and they can define.
I'm well aware of all of what you're talking about.
Yes, I know, but
so I don't I appreciate you explaining it, but I don't need to take up time having you do that because I'm clear.
Well,
The
you,
question I
you
have,
said it's undefined and it can be defined by the applicants and it can be defined by the council with a policy that sets out their expectations for developers if they want to be approved for a rezoning.
yeah, well, I don't see anybody doing that. So
Well,
nobody.
Well, that's a
being done.
different
No, I
issue,
agree.
isn't it?
Right, it certainly is. So, yeah, okay.
On
So,
mental
and
health, I
I'm not,
would,
I'm not needing this to be discussed on this platform. I just brought up that I was very surprised that the affordable housing issue seems to be of great importance to everybody, but nobody has any really viable legislative solutions that are going to really, make this required. And that's the only way you're going to get it to happen.
okay, so
Time to hear from the candidates on that.
let's go to Whitney Hill, who is a candidate, I believe.
Yep.
Yes. So, well, this is the third time I'm running. I've knocked on 2,500 doors in the last two elections and talked to people. Housing, number one. Those charts that you showed, I think, pretty much are what's going on out there with the housing. I there's a couple of things I would say about housing. Number one, zoning is the most powerful thing that city council has to bargain with and encourage, and there may be some restrictions as what they can require and everything else, but at the end of the day, a vote's a vote, and I think a lot of times things can be negotiated with builders and that type of thing. But the supersede long term is we just have to build enough. We've got to create an environment where supply comes out. We didn't have these problems back before with affordable housing. I was dirt poor when I went to college over here at NC State, and I had to change housing like 4 or 5 times. And I never had a problem finding a place that was cheap and really cheap. And so that's not the, I don't think that's the case today. I'm just talking about housing in general. And so those are things that are doable things, but I think we overlook the supply issue. If you don't have enough places to live, you don't have enough places to live. You can take a segment out of the upper market and say, well, we're going to make these affordable for a while. But long term, you still got the same problem. If you don't have enough places to live, you don't have enough places to live. Um, the other thing I wanted to say about campaign donations, I think I've run each of my campaigns under $7,000. I could have gone out and raised more money. The reason I didn't do that was I focused on knocking on doors, and I'll probably focus a little bit more on raising money this time to run a little bit different type of campaign. But at the end of the day, knocking on doors put me in touch with the candidates, and I'd be all in favor to knocking the limit down to $1,000. Uh, I think that's well within order. These super funds that candidates are building up not just affects their elections, but long term it buys them a lot of influence outside of just getting themselves elected, because you can push that money out to whoever you want to politically, other campaign funds and stuff. So those are my two comments.
That is true. Josh Bradley, are you there? Josh, you've disappeared. No, here's
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how hard it would be to do, and I know you'd have to go to the General Assembly about it, which is pretty fascist right now, if you ask me. But we should think when we do municipal elections about doing public funding of elections, like we used to do with the judges, where everybody that is running submits what they believe in and what they're going to fight for, and they send it out to everybody that votes, and send it out with the water bills that everybody gets, have it delivered to the mail, to where a contest is a contest of ideas and not a contest of whoever has the richest friends or who is willing to make the the moral compromises they need to do in order to take a lot of money from developers. So I know it's a long shot, but I know it's something, and I'm hopefully most of the candidates will agree on me with this, because we are out running a race trying to convince you to vote for us for what we believe and what we're going to do, rather than who we know and how much money we have. So I just want to throw that out there, that at least a stretch goal should be public funding of municipal elections. It wouldn't cost that much to the city, and it would be a better representation of what you're getting when you vote for, rather than which developer's friend you're voting for.
Okay.
Over.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Tim, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, just I will address two of the things that came up. It should be simple to get the legislature to approve a lower campaign limit. They have done it recently for other local municipalities. I don't recall off the top of my head which ones they are, but they're close to this area. And they're under $1,000, I believe. They aren't even $1,000. They're less than that. So that shouldn't be a big lift to get done if the city council just went and did and asked for it. I mean, the legislature has done it before. I don't know why they wouldn't do it again. And to the issue about affordable housing, and I agree with everything Bob said, and this is my own personal acts or opinion on this. There's nothing that says city council is required to approve any zoning request. They cannot force a developer to add affordable housing. But all they have to say is, I'm not going to approve this because I don't see enough community benefits. Wink, wink. And if a developer can't figure out what community benefit means, then that's on them. But what happens here in Raleigh is that Raleigh sets up incentives to include affordable housing. And developers in Raleigh know they don't have to ask for those incentives, because if they just go ask council for the rezoning without the incentives, this council always gives it to them. So they have no incentive to use the incentives. And this council hasn't got the spine to tell them, I don't see enough benefits here to vote for you, so go away. That's me getting back off of my soapbox now.
I'm a vote for you, Tim. Are you running?
No, I'm too old.
Okay, guys.
Tululupe, Namakaye. Hello.
Good evening.
She is
Can y'all hear
running.
me?
She
I
is
am
running.
running for Raleigh City
Yes.
Council District C again. I have two things I want to address. We talked about affordable housing and we talked about campaign donations, and I think that those are the two questions that we're addressing in this moment. Am I right?
Or anything else you want to talk about, but
Well,
yeah, those are
don't
two
put
of
me
our
on a
big three.
soapbox, because
Yeah.
we're gonna take up the whole meeting. But to address, I may not be in the majority on this, but I'm going to give you my honest opinion. I said it last campaign. I'm going to say it again. This is my opinion. And if it costs me votes, I really hope that you see a candidate that's willing to be honest and willing to go talk to, citizens and not say whatever to get elected and then get elected and do whatever. I have a record of being for the community since I've been here, a strong track record of supporting community, none financially from my gain of my own pocket, but literal financial pour out of my own to the point of almost poverty, right? Helping my community. But I do believe that campaigns have to be funded. The revolution has to be funded. And unfortunately, in some of our districts, there's not a large turnout of voters. And some voters turn out and vote for name recognition because they're not as engaged and don't understand, what we're all talking about here. Like, everybody here is the choir, right? But there's a lot of people who are not engaged and don't know there's a primary in March. So I've been trying to preach that gospel, don't know that things are changing, don't know how this thing works. I do believe that it is important to hold our elected officials accountable outside of coming to a city council meeting when something isn't going right and yelling, but literally making not a smear campaign, but holding them accountable. Sometimes in the last campaign, I saw a lot of the incumbents not being and the new people being asked the same question when the incumbents have a record, right, of what they've done and what they haven't done. So I said the last time that I would be willing to take some developer money. I'm not purchasable, but we need funds to run our campaign. I didn't get it. Well, I got, like, Danny Coleman is considered a developer and he donated about $500 to me, like, so is that a bad thing? And I also understand the overfunding of campaign. I am for the reduction of how much people can receive from specific donors, but they will come up with a mechanism to have multiple people donate multiple funds to get you to that number. You know what I'm saying? Like, the system is set up to be self-sustaining. And if we're asking people who are trying to run grassroots, honest campaigns to not take money from any, and we also can't control who donates to our campaign. Once that Act Blue is out there or the campaign link is out there, people will donate. So I just want to put those things out, because a mechanism could be, if somebody wanted to throw shade on another organization, yeah, they can donate to them and we can refund the money. But depending on who you run it against, it doesn't matter if you refunded the money. The fact that the money was donated is going to be the problem. And that's the political climate that we're in. And I'm just putting out honest solutions. I get that we're talking about maybe having community funded things, but the community doesn't donate as much. So really it's about holding the elected official accountable to what they said they were going to do and showing up and being proactive. And it does put more work on the community to do that. But whether you got development money or whether you were voted and didn't get that money, you were reelected, how are we holding you accountable to the fact that you made campaign promises, you took endorsements, you didn't follow through with those things? Like, how are we holding those things to the same, saying that's to me the measure. But I also agree with you all on developer money and not taking dark money.
Okay, well, I don't think anyone is suggesting that a candidate in the current environment should take no developer money. We're just suggesting that those developer contributions be
limited
to
I agree with that.
$1,000. A lot of developers and their lawyers and their engineers and their wives are donating $6,800 to candidates who will support their projects. I'm not going to build the lily on that. They buy positive votes. So
I agree that is what's happening, but I'm saying it.
Run on that issue.
Right. I agree with that. I'm just adding context to I don't want my computer to die. I'm adding context to that, just like I'm going to add context to the affordable housing piece. Good. I agree with affordable housing. I think affordable housing needs to be something that's a citywide initiative. Density needs to be a citywide initiative. It's only focused on District C largely. And then we talk about affordability. There was a case yesterday in front of City Council, the Z1125 case on Rock Quarry and New Hope, where they're talking about rezoning a very gerrymandered piece of rugged land. Most people were there just to hear about North Hills and didn't stay for that part of it, right? So in District C, we're dealing with at New Hope and Rock Quarry, where New Hope and Rock Quarry meet Jones Sausage. There is thank you, Javon, for staying, but a lot of people left, and you can attest to that. There is a piece of gerrymandered land on Rock Quarry and New Hope. On that land, it has been consistently turned down by City Council to be redeveloped over the years for residential because how the land is placed, how it's separated, and that there is a water treatment facility over there. There's a sewage sanitation facility there. But the developer has been planning for us to rezone it for residential. We've been turning it down. He came to City Council yesterday and added affordable housing piece, like a magic word. As soon as you say affordable housing, sometimes City Council ears perk up, and now we're considering this. But building affordable housing in a swamp or in a flood zone, which is what it is, or where you can step out your house and smell poop. So we're saying affordability, but where are we building this affordability? I agree. I'm agreeing with everything you all are saying. I'm just adding context to it. That yes, we need more affordability in Raleigh, but all of that affordability seems to land in District C, where we're losing home ownership and where affordability is only being added. You're gonna put a vulnerable population in an area where it's potential flooding, it's a swampland, and it's next to a sewage pipe. So
I need to interrupt you because I think
Yeah,
we
can
might
I?
have other people who want to talk, but I wouldn't
Don't
build
y'all
it
get on
in
the
I wouldn't
soapbox.
build it in a swamp.
Okay, I'd like to interrupt now if I could, and just to let people know, we are going to be sending out candidate questionnaires so you can get the views of candidates on some of these important questions, and we will be publishing them on our website. We'll probably send out the questionnaires next week. We told people that we'd try to end around 8 o'clock. If there are, I don't see any more hands raised at the moment. So, Russ, could you put up the next slide?
Uh,
I just want to, Bob, did you want to say anything to wrap up before I do this part?
Only to say that I look forward to this campaign to hear what candidates want to do to change the direction of Raleigh. If you're running to keep doing the same thing that councils have been doing for the last 30 years, that'll be a very easy job. Just sit there and listen to the staff, and when they tell you to vote yes, you vote yes. If you want to change the direction of the city in any way to make it more equitable, to make it more efficient, uh, that's a hard lift. So you have to raise some issues, and when you get elected, you have to keep raising them and get allies on council to raise them with you. So that's what campaigns are about to me. And this poll is just uh, touching touching on a few issues. Affordable housing, very complicated subject, and it's hard to poll it. But the takeaway from this poll is people see that we're falling behind in this area, and they're looking for solutions. And it's up to the candidates to bring some solutions to council. That's all.
Okay, well, I
Oh,
think,
Steph, there's
Anna
some
Siddiqui has
okay, yeah,
yeah,
let Sana go.
raised her hand.
Hear me now?
yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I was trying to speak earlier, but nobody could hear me. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for organizing this meeting. It was good to hear your perspective. And also, the poll results are eye-opening, but not surprising. And I agree with most of those. So I appreciate the work that you all do, and I look forward to meeting everyone in person soon.
Thank you
Great,
very
thank you.
much. Yeah, and thank you to everybody who joined tonight and to all the candidates and all the incumbents, all of you who are serving our community or hoping to serve our community. We need more people who are willing to step up and do that. And it's not easy in this day and age, I know. Um, we will be putting the video from this up on our website in the next few days. We also have our poll up there on the website that you can access and lots of other good stuff on the website. So if you haven't checked it out lately, give it a look. We are an all volunteer group. We're a small group. We could always use more help. Anything from when you see our posts on Facebook or Blue Sky or Nextdoor, share them, like them, get people to pay attention. If you're interested in getting more involved with us, email us and let us know at livableraleigh@gmail.com. We always welcome your donations. If you want to donate, you can do that online or you can send a check to our post office box. But we feel like we are trying to deliver a good service to the community, but it takes a village, and so we would really like to have more people get involved and help us. And I see a couple more hands up. So Donna and then Tim.
Yeah, I would like to just say that the CACs are officially back. It's taken 5 years. There was a um they were exiled for a very good purpose, for a reason that Marianne Baldwin and the developers wanted to get citizen voices out of the rezoning process. But there's been a huge void left where people really have nowhere to go. So, with that said, there have been about half of the CACs have stayed active. About half of them in the city are no longer working, but the city now is willing to help staff them. And citizen advisory councils are the CACs, and everyone in Raleigh belongs to a citizen advisory council. So if there is anyone on this call that's from a part of the city, and I know there's quite a few in District C where the CACs disbanded, um, reach out. We'll help you get organized because this is a great way to get information out in your local area. So I did want to say CACs are back. They're recognized by the city. After it was a lot of fighting, but and I'm happy to say some of our members on Livable Raleigh are CAC chairs. So support them when you can. Thanks.
Donna, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
There you are.
Tim?
Yeah, I just wanted to restate that if you have a concern about, and I put this in the chat, if you have a concern about why most people in Raleigh have no idea there's a primary coming in March and no idea that filing for city council office was in December, please contact the city and express your disappointment that the community engagement department, it's their whole job to engage with the community, is just starting to hold meetings about this topic later this week. And we're a little late because we had originally scheduled this meeting before filing was going to end, because our original intent was one of the intents of this meeting was to see if there were candidates or people interested to run. Now it was a weather event we had to cancel, but I mean, there is no excuse for the city of Raleigh to have not spent all year telling the residents of Raleigh about the new election formats and the primary and when you had to file for office. That's just inexcusable as far as I'm concerned. And if you find it that way as well, you should express that to the city and to your counselor. I mean, they're the ones who should be directing the city engagement department to engage with the city. They're going to have some of these meetings after early voting is almost over. Anyway, that's just me on my soapbox again.
Diana Powell has her hand up. And Diana, I think you're going to be the last voice we hear.
Okay, thank you. I apologize for coming on late. Been out in the community. My name is Diana Powell. I just want to briefly introduce myself. Some of you already know. I am running for City Council District C. I'm a native of Raleigh, been here, been boots on the ground, engaged in our community for over 30 years of doing humanitarian work. So I just want to introduce myself. I'm excited about getting our community excited about the reason why we need to vote. We know that our city has a history of low turnout during these primaries, and I'm here to bring that excitement back to our democracy and the power of our vote. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if you heard me say this earlier, Diana. It's up to the candidates to get the communities excited. And the way to do that, in our view, is issues. What are the issues? When you're running, it's one thing to tell people to get excited. It's another thing to tell them what to get excited about. So we look forward to hearing from the candidates what you're excited about and what you're going to try to rally the community to support. So I'm glad you're running.
Absolutely.
And I wish you luck. I'm
Thank
done.
you.
I've been talking all night. Thank you.
And again, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Apologies for some of the technical difficulties. And like I said, we will put the information up on our website in the next few days. And if you want to get in touch with us, take a look at the slide that's up on the screen, and lots of different ways to interact with us. And as Tim said in the chat, everything you want to know about can be found somewhere on the Livable Raleigh website. Just have a look around. Check the resources tab, check our calendar. If you want to get our weekly email, send us an email and we'll add you to the list. It goes out to over 19,000 people every week.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
All right. Night.
Good night.
Night.